Since being elected this past June, I'm proud to say that our members have been extremely supportive of my mandate to help organize the workfloors of our local. By the time you hear this, I've made 53 Workfloor visits where I've been honest with members that our traditional grievance-based forms of activism cannot be our only way to fight the employer if our goal is to create meaningful change. I've also asked members to consider what we might be able to accomplish together if we embrace our collective power to assert what is right, whether it's covered in our collective agreement or not. This appeal has been met by 335 members applying to taking back the Workfloor course. In under 3 months, we've conducted 9 of these courses, training 175 of these members, while retaining 144 of them. And that's 60 from C&D, 52 from the EMPP, and 33 from the RSMC classification to coordinate our Workfloor activities. By running these courses, we've created Workfloor pressure that wouldn't have occurred otherwise. Rosedale carriers have conducted a mass flyer refusal and laughed off suspension threats. EDDD carriers before CPC on at least 5 occasions to extend compressed flyer delivery to multiple days. RSMCs in Mayfield and Rosedale successfully demanded that CPC properly compensate them from guaranteed hours that previously went unpaid. Just last week, RSMCs at Delton marched on their superintendent to draw attention to the behavior of a bully boss. To quote a sister there, he's been as sweet as pie ever since. Recently, the EMPP has also gotten in on the action. The MLOCR and parcel sections on Shift 2 separately challenged their shift manager, Sam Haymore, to provide more staffing, which was immediately provided after months of CPC squeezing more work out of fewer employees. Parcel shouted down a management whiteboard scheme to single out less productive workers. Our most prominent initiative, however, was a citywide campaign against CPC carrier restructure fraud. Depot 2 was targeted by CPC to lose as many routes until we submitted an 800 name strong petition complete with a set of demands for fair work volume that was handed directly to the CPC CEO. Even though our organizing efforts saved 5 jobs at Depot 2 that would have been lost otherwise, the 3 positions that were cut prompted activists to organize a mass meeting attended by 110 members in the beginning of August. There, members excitedly discussed what we would do to escalate the fight against CPC and their overburdening schemes. Understandably, their spirits were dampened by the dark clouds gathering over every instance of workers rising up. That is the back-to-work legislation. Instead of just surrendering, members emphatically supported a strategy to build our strength through the continued recruiting and training of activists, as well as launching a referendum to ask our entire local where they stood in regards to fighting the legislation. I have since visited 3 facilities to present this referendum, and I will be continuing to do so for the next couple of weeks. The problem is obvious. No matter what we do, the government will always legislate us back to work if we represent a threat. The question that would be posed to members is simple. If you knew that the National Union Office would protect you from financial fines of the legislation, and if you knew that a solid majority of the Edmonton local would support you, would you be willing to defy the back-to-work legislation with us? There is no wrong answer to this question. Whatever feedback we receive from the members will inform our plan going forward. Are we ready to fight the legislation while there is still a chance for us to win a better contract now, or fight back against broken restructures and EMPP understaffing? Or do we continue building our strength to go on the offensive as soon as arbitration ends? Either way, back-to-work legislation will always be waiting for us down the road, and no proper counter-strategies can be made unless we know the true feelings of our members. Once I'm finished making the rounds, the results of this referendum will be broken down by facility, shift and wave, and published in our newsletter. Our local should be very proud of the work we've been doing to build solidarity and organizing capacity. We're honestly engaging members over what was viewed as a very poorly conducted strike and a deeply unpopular move to completely surrender to arbitration. We've established an effective and inspiring activist training program that has also been adopted by our comrades in the Alberta Union of Public Employees, a 95,000 member outfit gearing up to fight the Kenny government. Other CUPW locals throughout the country are asking for us to send facilitators to teach them how to organize. Dave Lambert, our Regional Education and Organizing Officer, and I have been refining a proposal that will ask our whole region to follow Edmonton's lead and roll out mass activist training classes. Members always ask, what is our union doing for us? And I can say with confidence and certainty that we're going into every facility and telling our members that the only hope we have is to collectively stand together and fight back on the floor. Today I will be making a notice of motion to reallocate $60,000 from previous year's unused budget funds to run many more organizer and shop steward training courses for the 160 members still on the waiting list to take these courses. Also today, a motion to reduce our union dues will be debated. That is the embodiment of the short-sightedness I've fought against in this union for the past 15 years. Do we invest in a new strategy that will actually empower us to fight CPC? Or do we pretend that by organizing less with less resources, we will somehow convince CPC to change their ways? Make no mistake, the motion being presented today to reduce our union dues represents a battle for the soul of this local. The timing of this dues reduction is also very questionable. Now that we're finally having regular Workfloor visits and meetings, now that we finally have members applying en masse to learn how to fight CPC, now that we're finally pushing back all across our local, a motion is presented that, if passed, completely undercuts all the strength and solidarity we've built up since I became president just 3 months ago. Imagine how much further we'd be along in our fight against CPC if everyone in this local was trying to amplify the work we're doing instead of undermining it. Making us poorer could never make us stronger. Saving $12 a month to help our members at the expense of empowering them with collective training is cutting off our nose to spite our face. A 4% pay increase would give members an extra $2,000 a year. That's $1,850 more than this proposed dues reduction. But it's impossible for us to win a race like this without training and mobilizing our members. I'm hoping that everyone who's heartened by the new approach of our local will stand with me today to send a clear message to those that would threaten what we're trying to build. If you're unwilling to walk the new path we're making, stand aside for those that will.
You're here.
Some believe that by clinging to only traditional methods of grievances and consultations, we can eventually expect different results. Some believe it is more important to score cheap political points by falsely promising that your lives will somehow get better by paying less dues. Fortunately, many in this local are waking up to the reality that our union understood long ago. The struggle continues, and our only hope of winning the struggle is by organizing our Workfloor. Thank you.